Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tales from the Backlog, a weekly Backlog Games deep dive podcast. I'm your host, Dave Jackson, he, him.
And I am the guest, Josh Leslie, he, him.
And today's game is Skate Story. But first, if this is your first time here, I appreciate you stopping by. First of all, thanks for checking out the show. Here's the spoiler policy. If you have not played Skate Story, don't worry. We're not going to spoil the story for you for a while. And there is some cool stuff that you may want to experience for yourself without spoilers in Skate Story. So, as always, no spoilers for a while. Check down in the show notes for a timestamp for when spoilers begin. And for everybody, if you enjoy this show, please consider supporting it however you can. If you would like to do so monetarily, you can do that on Patreon. You can also tell a friend. You can share the episode in Discord servers or wherever you hang out. You can leave comments and likes on the YouTube channel, leave reviews on the podcast apps. That is always really helpful and much appreciated. So, as you heard at the top of the show, a new guest to the show, Josh Leslie, is here with me today. Josh is a member of the IndieQuest and Monthly Mishap podcasts, and he's dined on many a moon in his day. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited. This is a weird game, so I'm excited to dive in.
Absolutely. Yeah. We always, every game is interesting enough to talk about on the show, but some games are just, they got a lot going on, a lot to chew on. Skate Story is definitely one of those games. So I appreciate you being here. So today's game, like we said at the top, it is Skate Story. Skate Story is a skateboarding adventure game developed by Sam Eng and published by Devolver Digital for contemporary consoles and PC in 2025. The main credits for Skate Story are Sam Eng, who basically did everything involved with the game. If you read the games, if you roll credits, it will just say a game by Sam Eng, and it will have the music and then everyone who works for Devolver. And that's the credits for the game. Music was done by Blood Cultures and John Fio. Don't know how to say that, but John, good work on the music. So we have as close to a truly solo developed game as there is. I mean, publishing support, help with music, but like this, we'll talk about this later, but like this really feels, even more so than a lot of solo developed games, feels like one person's art project. And it's like kind of cool to see that.
Yeah, I was actually kind of looking into the musical artists. So Blood Cultures, of course, are those like very vibey tracks you hear. John Fio does the kind of like the hub zones, like that was the ska song, and then like the other, just the hub music. That's what he does. So that's kind of like the two different vibes there, which I feel like the thing about this game is you see the clips of the glass skater going down into these archways, and then there's a lot more to this game than meets the eye when you actually get into it. So
absolutely. Yeah, there's going to be a lot for us to talk about, a lot more than I initially thought there would be just watching a trailer. So in case someone is here, they don't know much about Skate Story, we have our quick pitches per usual. Mine is, this is a skater's fever dream poem, a tribute to New York City. What would you say, Josh?
I'm going to say it's a skateboarding psychedelic odyssey with a bunch of weird little dudes.
Ton of weird little dudes. And the weirdest of the weird little dudes. So yeah, absolutely. We have our eye out for weird guys more now than we did maybe like 5-10 years ago. This game seems to get in the weird little guy market really well.
Yeah, for sure.
I played this on PS5 and my playthrough took me 7 hours to get through. How about you?
I played on PlayStation 5. It took me about 5 to 6, I think about 5.5 hours for this one for me.
Yep. It's not the longest game. I feel like it's a pretty good length for this. And at the time of us recording this, it's on the PS Plus catalog. So that's how I played it, because it's just, I've already paid for it if I play it on there. So that's where I played.
Yeah, you're gonna like miss. You're losing money if you don't play it, right? Pretty much at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's where I played it too.
Right. So let's get into our kind of like histories with Skate Story. At the time of recording, it's still a relatively new game. It came out a couple months ago at this point. By the time people hear this, it will be even more months ago. So still pretty fresh though. So I know this one has been kind of showcased for a little while. We saw trailers a couple years ago. What was it that made you want to play this? And I remember like when you and I talked about having you on the podcast a while ago, this was a game that both of us landed on as like, that would be a good one to do. So what put it on your radar?
I definitely saw it. It's very gifable, this game. So I'm
Yes.
sure it was on Blue Sky, maybe Twitter when it was Twitter. It was some social media. I saw just a clip of this and I was like, what is this game? I have to know more about it. So I went straight to the
Hmm.
Steam page, read the description, wish listed it, and then ever since then I followed Sam Eng, followed, I always already followed Devolver Digital, and then they started sharing more, and I'm like, when is this game going to come out? And I felt like it was like 3 years or something, maybe more, until we finally saw it. So yeah, that's what put it on my radar. But I feel like, I know we'll get more into it, but from the clips that you see, that's what the game plays like. I feel like that's a thing that happens a lot. You see like a clip, like Cuphead's a good example. You'll see like, oh well, there's no way that game plays good. It looks cool, but there's no way it plays good. But
Mm.
you know what? This actually does play pretty well for what it is.
Yeah, those like I remember the trailers, and that was what caught my eye too. Like honestly, I don't know how you could see a trailer for Skate Story and not be like, "Whoa, what is that? I
Yeah.
gotta look more into that." The art style is so striking. So,
Hmm.
but you see that in the trailers, and it's like it's really cinematic. It's got these funky camera angles and like these like close ups of the skater as you're going, and that kind of is what it's like to play a lot of the sections of the game, even though it looked like it might be just a kind of like a dynamic camera to show off in a trailer. I don't really feel like they were lying a whole lot about what it actually looks like to play. One
Hmm.
more question for you. What's your history with skateboarding games?
I would say Tony Hawk Pro Skater is probably like one of my favorite series. I will just play them it's easy for me to take an evening and play through a Tony Hawk game and just have a blast. It's and
Hmm.
When the remakes came out recently, the 1 and 2, and then we got 3 and 4, loved them and just devoured them instantly. Love those. And then I am a fan of the Skate trilogy from like the 360 PS3 era. I think it was really well done. I never played the new one, but I thought that did a good job of trying to take it arcadey and then kind of grounded a little bit more. And then this game specifically kind of like takes that grounded feel and even takes it another step further, I would say, for how the gameplay actually operates.
Hmm. I never played any of the skate games, but I did play a ton of Tony Hawk Pro Skater up through 4, I think. And then I played the remakes of 1 and 2 when those came out, and I actually replayed Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 on the N64, like, last year or something like that, for,
Hmm.
the King of Games 1999 tournament that I was doing, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was in that tournament. So I replayed that, still loved it. So, like, skateboarding games have been a big part of my, gaming history, I guess. And so, you could tell by looking at this that, like, it's probably not gonna be like Tony Hawk's, not as arcadey as Tony Hawk, but
Yeah.
skateboarding games in general, you don't really have to sell me on a skateboarding game. I'm already kind of in because it's just cool. I'll never skateboard in real life. I'm almost 40. That shit's not happening now. So let me do it in a game. I'm always in for that. So Skate Story itself is a really interesting game, as we talked about before. There's a lot more to this game than you might even guess from like looking at one of the trailers. And it to me, it kind of feels like there are almost multiple games in here. Like
Hmm.
there's the stuff that you saw in the trailers, which is like kind of echoes of a Sayonara Wild Hearts type thing where you go down linear levels, you're jamming to the music, you're jumping over stuff, but like simple skateboarding stuff. And then there's like an adventure game in here too. That was like a big surprise to me. And there are boss fights that I didn't expect and stuff like that. And I don't like all of those sections. I really deeply love the linear downhill skate jam to the music stuff. And I was thinking about it and I was like, if I were to make a pie chart of all the things that you do in Skate Story, that stuff feels like it's like 10% of the game, which is kind of disappointing to me.
Hmm.
And those other sections are very hit and miss. So all the things that I thought I would love, art, music, sound, skating, like things like that, I like that stuff a lot. All of those promises paid off. The game turned out to be something that I didn't expect. And then once I like recentered my expectations, I'm pretty mixed on Skate Story as a game, but as like a project, as a work of art, it's one of the coolest fucking things I've ever played. So it's like it's really complex. And I think that's what's cool about playing like indie games. As you know, on IndieQuest,
Right.
you guys talk about indie games all the time. You get these like rough around the edges passion projects a lot more in
Hmm.
indie games. And it's like it's so easy to appreciate that when I look back on Skate Story at the end of this year or something, when I'm making my list of the games I played in 26, I'm going to look back and be like, Skate Story is so cool. It's so cool. But in the moment, I didn't always love playing it. In fact, there were times when I was like, this kind of sucks. But then I get
Hmm.
back to the good shit and I'd be like, hell yeah. And it's like this roller coaster of highs and lows for me.
Yeah, I can understand that feeling, and I actually do agree with you. I find like the boss fights in this game to be a little, I don't know, a little tedious, and then the open world parts maybe weren't needed. I mean, they're fine, but they're kind of like, especially I guess it's kind of where the coffee shop stage area, it's just big open nothingness, and you're just skating forever to get to different areas, and like I know he's just trying to set a tone and like a space to be in, and I
Hmm.
felt like that maybe it fell a little flat there at times. I know what he was going for. He's like, this is just a cool place to skate, you know? Like this is supposed to feel like a nostalgia, like Tony Hawk Pro Skater level, but maybe that doesn't work too well in like this like artsy, like weird, ethereal game, you know? Maybe it doesn't work as good as it does in like an arcadey Tony Hawk or something, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, there are parts and like those parts that you were talking about. I see the point. They switch up the pacing a little bit. They let you meet characters. They let you kind of. I said in the elevator pitch, this is a very clearly a tribute to like life, skating, existence in New York City, and those parts that's really strong where you like really
Hmm.
feel that. So I get why they're there, but I don't want to do them. Like I want to get back to the downhill, the momentum, the skating parts. And it was a little bit disappointing to find out like what Skate Story actually is versus what I was hoping. And what I was hoping is still there. It's just it's so much a smaller piece of the pie than I had hoped. One other thing that I'll just mention, we'll talk about this more after the music break, of course, but I guess I didn't expect anything story wise from Skate Story, even though the word
Right.
story is in the title.
Yeah.
Um, but this is really interesting from a story perspective. It's like a playable poem, basically.
Hmm.
And so I really enjoyed just the way that you would read a poem, maybe not dissecting how this word connects to this word connects to this word, but like getting a shot of feeling from it. And Skate Story does that really well, I think. It's very cool to take it all in, and I think it effectively conveys an emotional arc through the game that I was definitely not expecting. Maybe it's just because like Tony Hawk games don't have stories, so you know you're just skating.
Yeah.
So that was a nice surprise too.
Yeah. And it's like each chapter you're hit with those poems, and you know you just played that section that the poem's describing, and it does such a good job with like the visuals and the music, as when the music kicks in and it just feels good and you're just vibing and you're doing a good job. It You might crash a couple times and then the camera goes crazy, you know, that's part of it though.
Yeah.
And But when you get to that section and you read that poem, and that's what you just experienced, you know, through the gameplay, and then it tells that story, and it kind of has a nice resolution. It's like it's one of those stories that it's kind of, it does tell a story, but also you kind of have to think about it a little bit. Like, okay, what does this mean? What's the significance of this? You know, what we're experiencing here. But I
Yeah.
really like that aspect as well.
Yeah. One of those things where you're like, I know how I feel, and maybe that's
Yeah.
the most important thing here. So,
Hmm.
um, Let's take a music break. Let's set some of that vibe, and then when we come back, we'll jump back into story. We'll kind of reset. We'll set it up. What is Skate Story? What are you doing? And then we'll talk a little bit more about that. In Skate Story, you play as a skater. You are a demon in the underworld, and you sign a contract with the devil to eat the moon in return for your freedom. You are given a body made of glass, and you set out on your skateboard to, again, eat the moon to fulfill your contract with the devil and earn your freedom. And if that sounds surreal and weird, you are absolutely correct. And again, we're back on that poetry aspect of this. This is not an exposition game. Like sometimes people will tell you, if you do this, you'll unleash the centipede. And you're like, okay, that sounds like exposition, but what the fuck do you mean you'll unleash the centipede? What does that mean? And
Yeah.
so it is, like you said, it's one of those games that you play and you're like, you're taking in all these lines of dialogue and you're like, huh? And then, you just kind of go on the ride for that. It gives you this really nice closing poem at the end of every chapter that you can read and be like, okay, that's what I did. I'm no longer, skating around. I can read this. I can take it in. And again, like in the way that you might read a poem and you don't focus on each individual word. You can, but you don't need to, because a good poem will convey something through like the whole of it, I guess. And Skate Story 100% did that for me, which is really cool. I don't know how many other games I've played that I would describe as a poem, but Skate Story is definitely in there.
Yeah, I think this game is very personal in the way everything about this game is personal. Like you said, this is Sam Eng's game, right? But the camera, the way the camera is like right up in your shit. It's like right there, like right behind you, following you, kind of like a dolly cam or like an old school skate video or something like that. Everything from that to the music to just the package and then the poems themselves, it just feels personal. It feels like it comes from the heart. Like he's really trying to portray something that he just loves the city. He just loves skating. You really feel it as you're playing, and then you feel it through the poems as well. Which they're just out there too. The story is just out there. Like, who comes up with this? You got to eat the moon. That's it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but it is definitely something where like and I did do this in the spoiler section, so I would remember specific things. But if you just like write down literal plot points of what happens, it doesn't make sense as a story. Really. I mean, it makes sense. Like this happens after this and that causes this, like, literally it makes sense, but like you're not going to read that and be like, oh, okay. Yeah. I dig this. I vibe with this. But everything else kind of coalesces, that weird, poetic dialogue, the actual poems at the end of the chapters, the music, and, some of those plot points are genuinely emotional. And I felt the emotion while playing this. I totally agree with you. It feels like a very personal game. It feels like might even be a retelling of like a personal life story of Sam Eng's or someone that they know. Like you can tell the love for the city. You can tell the love for skateboarding. You can tell like these love for like hazy memories skating through the city at night and by the glow of the street lights and, maybe there's police sirens and city noise and shit like that. Like you feel that throughout this game. But the emotional arc of this is actually really, really strong. And there's some good shit to talk about in the spoiler section. There's some great lines of dialogue. There's some great like ways that emotional situations are gamified in a skateboarding game that I think is like genuinely really good and unexpected.
Yeah, I watched an interview with Sam Eng, and he was talking about his like process in making this game. So his day starts. He skateboards to the coffee shop, does 4 hours. Basically codes the game until his laptop dies, which takes about 4 hours, and then he'll eat lunch, and then he'll skateboard a little bit more around the city, and maybe go to the co-op to do 4 more hours, or go back to the coffee shop. And he did that every day, Monday through Friday, to develop this game. So I
Nice.
just thought, like the actual story of him making the game, him skating around New York, in Brooklyn, kind of just it echoes what he put into the game, which is really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I love the laptop battery as a kind of like timer, as like, okay, it's
Yeah.
time to get up and do something else. I'm not bringing my charger. When this shit dies, I'm done working. So
Pretty much.
I love that. And obviously, very good discipline with saving your projects before the battery runs out. Um,
Right.
I'd be way too neurotic to do that. So yeah, there's some story themes to kind of highlight for people, maybe just like kind of top level. Don't have to talk about them too much, but there's definitely a lot of stuff that goes on with city life. And again, very recognizably New York City. If you've ever been there, you'll recognize the subway entrances, the way the signs work, stuff like that. There's a lot of focus, I feel like, on kind of being someone trying to exist within like bureaucracy and like, law enforcement and getting in these like bureaucratic fucking situations. Like if you've ever gotten a ticket and you have to like go to the courthouse and deal with all the bullshit like processes
Mhm.
that happen down at the courthouse, like there's a couple chapters that like directly deal with this and it feels like a very recognizable situation. It's like kind of Kafka-esque in a way where you're like, I got to get what permit? Like, like
Yeah.
that kind of shit. There's a really strong emphasis on community in here. And to me, the thing that resonates the most, hope and persistence and finding something to help you go on after a catastrophic failure, we'll say.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
those are some top level things. There anything you want to expand on there or any to add even?
No, I mean, that's skateboarding, right? When you fall, you're gonna get a scrape or a bruise, but you still
Yeah.
get up and you still try to do the trick you're trying to you practice to get better at, or just get better at skating, or try to do a half pipe, whatever you're doing.
Hmm.
Um, that's persistent in this. And also, I just like this is just a comment. I like the imagery of like just the mundane stuff in this game. Like you go into like this really lonely like laundry room or laundromat, with
Hmm.
this guy that just seems sad and he's just kind of waiting for his clothes. It just feels very uh like every little thing that's on screen is thought of, and it feels lived in, and it feels weird and quirky in only a way this game can be. But you feel like you're there in some respect. I don't know, it just has a good feeling to it, even if whatever comment we have about the open world areas, it's like they're kind of fun to exist in, at least just to experience those characters and those little like vignettes and little moments.
Yeah. And I was thinking about it. Like, so you have a bunch of these levels where you do like these downhill momentum based skate sections, listen to music. You have your boss fights, and you have a lot of time that's spent in these kind of open zones. They're built kind of like city blocks mostly. There's a lot more skateboarding, ramps and rails and ledges and stuff to grind on um, than like, a real city block would be. But or maybe you'll have like a park in the center and then like a block of buildings around the park and stuff.
Hmm.
And these are those sections you go in, you talk to people, they'll tell you to go get a MacGuffin somewhere. So you got to go do this thing to get this thing to bring back to this person and stuff like that. And I don't like playing these sections. And honestly like fell asleep twice during these sections. And
Yeah,
look, I'm a pretty tired guy, but like I don't fall asleep playing every game that I play. So
that's
that
fair.
doesn't feel great. Um, having said that, I get why they're here, and I do think they
Hmm.
contribute positively to like the game overall because of what you said. Like this game is about city life in a lot of ways, and this is a big part where that is shown is in these kind of
Right.
open sections. And you can have like all the hectic shit. There's sections where like this game's version of the police are chasing after you. But
Hmm.
you do have those like really mundane situations, like just sitting in a laundromat waiting for your timer to run out on the dryer. And like it
Yeah.
echoes that too. It's not all just like the skating around.
Yeah,
So
but maybe
yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking maybe those areas are meant to be a little boring. Like maybe that's kind of the purpose of it. Like maybe
it
you're
could
just kind
be.
of lazily just skating around. I know that's not fun gameplay really, but maybe that's what he was kind of going for. Is like, oh yeah, this is kind of just like a chill area where you just skate around, enjoy skating.
Hmm.
But it feels less purposeful than of course, like the boss fights and the other just the main thing you see from the game, the skating downward, the downhill jam version of it or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah. And I do think that like, had it just been had it just been like 5 straight hours of the downhill jam, you may have gotten it may be like sensory overload in a way. And
Mhm.
maybe you do need that time to decompress. And you do need a reason to meet the weirdo cast of characters, all those weird little guys that we talked about. You meet all of them in these kind of open sections. All the skeletons, like this game's full of like awesome skeletons with, talking about their fucked up backstories. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of like in world, like environmental writing to read. There's a lot going on, and you don't get that in those downhill sections. So, like, there are parts of this that I liked. It was just like when I'm doing these open sections, I'm always thinking, like, I can't wait till I get to the next downhill. Like, I
Yeah.
can't wait. That's my favorite part. That's what I want to do. I don't want to do this shit right now. But, like, I'm not, I honestly, I don't think this game would be better without them. I just don't I can't think of an alternative.
Yeah, it's like, do they just you do the downhill thing and maybe have little cutscenes or something? But I don't
Yeah,
know
I
if
don't
that's
know.
as interesting as it just being
Yeah.
like in the world. Like I don't know. It's a weird one for sure.
I know I don't skate, but, like, I assume that part of the joy of skating is just kinda, like, fucking around, and
Mhm.
these open sections do give you the opportunity to practice in, like, a zero pressure environment. If you just got the tutorial for how to grind, like, go grind, go practice, go fall. You're not going to ruin the vibe of a downhill section in here. It's just open. Take as long as you want. Like, I do think there's part of that too. So
Mhm. Yeah.
let's talk about the visuals and the music. The thing that brought us into the game. We don't want to bury like the big draw too far in
Yeah.
the show. Almost 30 minutes in, but here we are. Visually, this game is maximalist. There's a lot going on visually, from like effects in the environment. Your skater is made of glass, so you get a bunch of like light refractions and stuff coming off of your skater. There's a lot of um, like in the downhill sections. There's like these like jagged red spikes on either side or something like that. There's a bunch of like flashing lights and particle effects and stuff like that everywhere. It's like this game is like doing the most visually all the time. That's just like regular gameplay. There's like cutscenes where it gets real weird visually in like a
Mhm.
super cool way too. But like, that thing that you saw the trailer and you're like, that looks like the coolest game I've ever seen. And then you play Skate Story and you're like, this is the coolest looking game I've ever seen. It's really,
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, it's like maybe too much at times, but it's part of it. It's part of the whole thing. Like the music blasting. We'll talk about the music too, of course, but
Yeah.
the music blasting with just too much just visuals in general. I was really happy to see that he's going to be adding a photo mode to this game because
Oh,
I
yeah.
get I get really in my sicko mode when I get the photo mode. I just start like taking pictures of everything when a game
Hmm.
has that. So this game is pretty much built for that. I would say it's like every little snippet of this game is like the perfect screensaver or perfect like wallpaper for your computer or something. Like there's not any like screenshot that you could grab from this game that's going to look bad. It just always looks cool.
Yep. I do agree with you. I think that like sometimes it's a little busy visually when you're skating,
Yeah.
because the whole you're in the underworld. The whole game is dark, so like it's always a black backdrop for what you're doing. And then there's a whole lot going on visually on the screen. And sometimes it's kind of tough to tell, like, is there a ledge 6 feet in front of me as I'm skating really fast? I hit a bunch of surprise curbs when especially doing the like boss fight sections where you're in like a kind of a little skate park type of zone.
Hmm.
It was kind
Yeah.
of hard to keep track of that stuff. And like the game is not always, it's mostly not difficult. So it's not like, oh, I fucked up my combo, I got to start the whole level over or something like that. But it does kind of suck to have something like jump out and crash you out of nowhere just because like everything else on the screen was so visually busy. But
Yeah.
that's the only complaint that I would ever have visually about this.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's like in the way you crash, like I said earlier, the camera just goes haywire. So it's like you're just skating and you're doing your thing, and then just out of nowhere you hit like the littlest ledge and you just shatter, and then the camera just gets basically. Imagine taking a GoPro and just chunking it. That's pretty much what the camera
Yeah.
does when you crash
Yeah.
in this.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like the most chaotic looking camera. So it can be jarring at times, especially when you just didn't see that ledge that you smashed into.
Yep.
I can agree there.
Hmm. About the only thing though, because like everything else that it does visually is just so cool. And I feel like there's so many visual tricks to this that like it's really hard for me to single out specific ones to talk about. So just imagine like I forget the company that did that ad. It's a really famous advertisement of the guy sitting in an armchair and he's got this stereo system in front of him and it's like blowing his hair and tie back because it's so loud,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Skate Story does that with the way it looks, I feel like. It's
For
just,
your eyes.
yeah, for your eyes, everything all at once. And it's like really cool to just hop in the groove of this game. Crazy things are happening visually, the music is going, and you're just like bobbing your head, you're skating, you're having a good time like that. This game reaches that like ultimate flow state type of thing where like everything's perfect in the world. Like the thing I'm looking at, the thing I'm listening to, the thing I'm doing with my hands, it's all awesome. Just so much going on. It's really hard to be like, these are the 10 visual techniques that are being used in every Skate Story thing. Like, I can't talk about
Yeah.
that.
Hmm. It's like whenever you see those tech things where it's like, oh, look at all this awesome path tracing. Skate Story is like, you know what? Screw it. Everything is path trace. Everything
Everything.
has lighting. Everything has jagged edges. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's just it's it's visual overload, but with like parentheses, like positive, right?
Yes, exactly. And they really sell a great sense of momentum when you're skating, especially in those downhills. Like when you get going at top speed in Skate Story, you feel I like I said, I never skateboarded, but I did rollerblade down some big hills when I was a kid. Like, you know that feeling you get when you're like you're skating or you're on your bike and you're going a little bit too fast, like you're about
Yeah.
to lose control of it. Like this game sells that feeling sometimes when you're like, I'm
Hmm.
going really fast. I hope I don't need to turn anytime soon. But like for now, hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it's like that it's like blissful, right? Like you
Yeah.
feel like you're unstoppable, but of course like you said, if you smack you might hit a little ledge or something and just
Yeah.
crash like crazy, but that's on theme with the game. Pick yourself up. I i guess he just becomes glass guy again after he shatters every
Yeah.
time or something. He just gets rebuilt, and then keep on skating and try to get there again, just trying to chase that high over
Hmm.
and over again.
Yep. And the whole time you're doing that, you have this awesome soundtrack by, again, Blood Cultures does a lot of the skating music. And then, as you said, and I think I remember, like, I've listened to the soundtrack online a bunch of times. And
Hmm.
John Fio has a bunch of those kind of more chill uh,
Yeah,
soundtrack
like the
songs.
shop music and like the ska, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How would you describe? I'm throwing you a grenade here. How would you describe the either of these? I guess like the blood culture stuff. I think is the stuff that jumps out the most.
I would say that it'd be like somewhere between like power pop and synthwave, and then maybe throw a little techno in there.
Hmm.
Like somewhere if there's like a pie chart or not pie chart, Venn diagram, like in the middle of that Venn diagram with those genres,
Uh
right?
huh.
Maybe some electronic EDM, I don't know, but it has guitar sometimes too.
Yeah.
It just has a little bit of everything almost.
There's a lot of diversity in the soundtrack. It's I just have like uh I just say it's a really dreamy soundtrack. Like everything's kind of
Hmm.
shimmering all the time. A lot of reverb, a lot of like pitch shifting, like things are slightly going in and out of tune as they're playing in like a really cool way. They've got a lot of vocals, a lot of like repeating vocal samples in some songs. Not everything is like really pleasing to listen to. Also, like there's a lot of like really abrasive, like dissonant tracks in here. There's one
Yeah,
like boss track. I think it's the final boss track where
I think so.
it's like this really abrasive, difficult to listen to song.
It's
That's
like
it's
trash can lids hitting you, like smashing
yeah,
together
it's an
almost, you
assault
know?
on your ears. And then it goes into like this really pretty chill like vocal, you know, bridge or something like that or chorus, and then right back to that extreme like shit jumping around all the time. Like I'm like, "Oh my, what is this?" It's kind of like the visuals, like the soundtrack's kind of doing the most also.
Yeah, it's basically doing that ad, but for the music, right? You know, it's blowing
Yeah.
your hair back as you go. It,
That Skate Story is doing that thing to you. Yeah.
yeah, the whole time. No, it's like the combination of just the overwhelming imagery and then the overwhelming music just puts you in that flow state. Like I think that's what he's going for most of this game, right? You're just you're just vibing, like vibes, like the skate that skeleton says. It's like the immaculate vibes. What does he say?
Immaculate
Something like
vibes.
that.
Yep, yep.
Yes, yes, that's pretty much what you're going for in this game.
Yeah. And I think that fits really well with a skating game. Like so many people, myself included, have talked about how how cool it is to skate around in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and like listen to Bad Religion or the Dead Kennedys or whatever, is on the soundtrack of the game you're playing. And skateboarding is just kind of like a perfect thing in a video game to then like jam to music to. And
Hmm.
because a lot of the gameplay, but definitely the visuals and music going to put you in that flow state. Then you're really just in this zone to just like take in this music and just and really nod your head to it, vibe out. And that's part of the reason why those like downhill skate sections are my favorite, because the skating is actually asking very little of me, but I get to just like a Sayonara Wild Hearts, I get to just kind of get in that flow, really enjoy this music. Do some gameplay, you got to jump over stuff, do some grinds, do a
Hmm.
kickflip every now and then, if you're feeling crazy. But really get in that flow. And when all that stuff hits at the same time, there's almost nothing better in games.
Yeah, it's like the coolest music visualizer that you can like ex- basically interact with, right? That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
So you can tell like when you're especially those downhill areas, I guess that's what we're calling them, but the downhill jam stuff, those very much feel like he just listened to these songs on repeat and then asked himself, what does this song look like? You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I feel like that's a lot of times what it is. Like, what does this song look like too? And the songs are always so creative and just like we said, it was like a little bit of everything mixed in there, you know, with genres. And he's just like, all right, this one kind of feels maybe a little more blue. Let's put a bunch of blue on screen because this song feels blue. Let's do it. You know, like I don't know how he did it, but it just works. You know.
Yep. Yeah, everything seems matched up really, really well. And I guess you can't always take that for granted in a type of like licensed soundtrack, because that's what this is. It's a licensed
Hmm.
soundtrack. It just matches up really well. It's like the perfect combination of game and musician. And like not to leave the John Fio music out to dry, like that's really good too. And that's a great, like I like listening to the Blood Cultures soundtrack outside of the context of the game. It's just good music. I enjoy it. The John Fio music is much more relaxing. It's much more chill, and I really like that too. Like that's something that I would put on when I'm working or something. If I want to vibe, but I got to concentrate on something
Yeah.
else,
Hmm.
cuz I can't have the Blood Cultures soundtrack go like screaming in my ear while I'm trying to, fill out forms or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes when I'm like reading a novel or something, I like to just put on some like light music, you know, just
Mhm.
as background noise to like kind of zero in on the story. That would be perfect for that. You know, you're just like you're kind of focused on this thing over here, but the music's just there just to like take you down a couple notches,
Yeah.
relax you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So we've kind of talked about the story setup. We've talked about the visuals and music and the overall vibe of the game. Let's listen to a bit more, and then when we come back, it's time to talk skating. So, skating in Skate Story. If you can believe it, you're going to do a lot of this. So, the basics are you will hold down X on the PlayStation controller, hold it down to push, gain speed, and then you hold down circle to prepare a jump. So, you'll kind of get in a stance when you hold the button down. And this is how you do an ollie, and it's also the basics for every other trick that you do is holding down circle to get ready to do something. And regardless of what trick you're doing, there's a timing meter. And so
Mhm.
you'll see this little thing spinning around, and there's a little zone in the little track. And if you time your jump perfectly, you'll get extra points. And then the more complex the tricks are, the more complex the little track. It looks like a little Hot Wheels track in my head, so
Pretty
that's
much.
that's why I'm using that word. The more complicated that gets, so the harder it becomes to do perfect timing. I don't know about you. I had to focus so much on what was in front of the skater that I basically abandoned trying to get perfect timing. It just like didn't factor in at all for me. I don't know about you.
Not really. No, it's just like, especially like doing the boss fights and things. It's like a lot of times you're kind of having to spam the trick button too to get like your combo going up
Hmm.
at times. So it's like, yeah, it's nice that that's options there, and obviously it'll make your points more if you land those perfectly. But yeah, it's kind of like the secondary thing. I never really even thought about it too hard on that
Yeah.
one.
It is there. More of a higher skill ceiling, I guess, for people than you and me, but that's kind of cool. So the way you do tricks is you do your ollie maneuver, like we just talked about, and then you add in one of the trigger buttons or a combination of the trigger buttons to do basic stuff at first, kick flips, heel flips, pop shove it, stuff like that. And then the tricks get a little bit more complex as you go. More button presses, spins, grinds, stuff like that. But one thing about this as a skating game, like you mentioned a while ago at the beginning, it's much more grounded as a skating game.
Hmm.
It's more realistic. Like you're not gonna do you're not gonna do a 900 in Skate Story.
No.
Like instead of doing like in Tony Hawk, you have to like consecutively do tricks without breaking a chain of stuff. You got to like always do one trick transitioning into something else, transitioning into something else. And in Skate Story, that's not how combos work. You just kind of have like a timer after you land a trick. You get 5 seconds, do another trick, and then you'll extend your combo. And then at the end, you press a button to like stomp your trick down emphatically. You get like some screen shake. It's pretty cool.
Hmm.
That ends your combo and gives you your points. So you're not doing these insane, you're not doing the like Christ air from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater in this
Yeah.
game. You're doing they're not easy. Nothing about skateboarding is easy, but you're doing like
Mhm.
realistic street skating tricks in this game.
Yeah, you're not gonna be doing a backflip and then
Yeah.
grinding and then reverting down a half pipe and then
Yep.
doing a manual into like a, yeah, you're not doing all that. It's like you said, I'm not a skateboarder either. I have zero balance. I would just fall off. So yeah, I mean, I can rollerblade, but I feel like anybody can rollerblade. But yeah, no, I have zero balance. So I don't know how it feels to skate, but I think that it's funny that this game is so like visually insane and musically, all that stuff we talked about, but it's so down to earth when it comes to the actual like mechanics of it.
Yeah.
It comes down to it. Like even the sound of like the skateboard wheels feels realistic. Like they
Hmm.
squeak, and like the board itself, you can customize it and add like designs to it in the shop, and as you skate and you grind and things like that, it gets worn down like it would realistically do. And I
Hmm.
just feel like those little like touches, including the skating and just how it feels and how like doing a kickflip feels cool, and like it's so basic in the Tony Hawk. Like you probably just tap like square or something in Tony Hawk, right? And you do a kickflip or something basic, or some basic combo like that. Here it's like you do it, and you're kind of proud of yourself because the way the gravity pulls you down feels so like realistic that that every trick feels good.
Yeah, it does. And there's a great attention to detail too. Like if you're holding down the buttons and you're doing the little timing track thing to line up the perfect kickflip, the skater will like position his feet as if he's about to actually do a kickflip. And
Hmm.
if you then like abandon that, you'll get your feet back in a normal skating position. And then if you do it again, different trick, you'll position your feet ready to actually like kick up the board and do the trick. And it like every trick tutorial gives you like this slow motion, kind of like explains like how does a kickflip work? Like what are a skater's feet doing during an ollie? Like
Hmm.
you see an ollie, but like have you ever thought about the physics of it? Like how does an ollie actually work? And it's like kind of weird how it actually works. Like you pop the board up and then slide your front foot to level the board out in the middle of the air. It's like a really complicated maneuver. And
Yeah.
this game has an attention to detail for all of that stuff. Like, like we've said, like a real love for skating. And it's
Hmm.
like a love for like these things that, an average person who's skated for a while can do some of these things. And it doesn't have to be a love for, you know, doing a 900 or some,
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be X Games shit. Just like people in the park doing some flips, doing an ollie, doing their best to like jump and grind down the side of a bench or something like that. Like this game has love for that level of skateboarding.
Yeah, I think it feels special in that way because even when you play like Skate, like the skate games that EA made, like you use those sticks to pop your board up, like that is quote unquote more realistic. But they also have the things where it's like launch yourself off this giant ramp
Yeah.
and like splay out and they do the things where you're trying to like get like the biggest like fall possible and stuff in that
Hmm.
game. But yeah, like that game is like already over the top. But if that was before this game, that's probably the most quote unquote grounded skateboarding game I played. So for the visuals and everything else of this game being the most grounded in that respect is really special. And yeah, it's cool. This game's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. In this game makes you feel the weight of an individual trick, and it makes you feel the momentum of just skating.
Hmm.
Like I said, some of my most favorite parts of the game are these sections where you're just skating through these linear sections downhill, gaining speed, trying to go through these gates. As you like, the most involved they get is like there's like 3 or 4 red gates on this path, and you got to skate through them so that you can get through
Hmm.
the final one. That's it. How you do it is as stylish as you want to do it, but all you have to do is kind of just make it to the end. And that's when you get that momentum. That's when you get in that flow state the most, or at least for me. But like the skating of it is not remarkable. You don't have to do
Hmm.
any tricks during those sections. Just if there's a gap, you just have to ollie over it. That's all you need to do. And they happen to be my favorite sections. Just showing you that like being on the board and moving is really cool. You don't have to be
Yeah.
doing X Games shit again.
Yeah. Yeah, they just have something special about just the way it feels. I think it'd be really cool. I mean, this is just me thinking out loud, but if they took those downhill areas and just made like an arcade mode where it's just those for like the entire soundtrack or something,
Yeah.
I would be so down to play that. Or even like a roguelike mode where it's like try to get the biggest score on this line and you go down for an hour or whatever it is. I would love that just as an additional mode.
I would love to be able to pick a track from the soundtrack and then just skate for the duration of that track. Like,
Yeah,
if
that'd
they,
be awesome.
say one of the songs is 3.5 minutes long, if they made a 3.5 minute long track, or just, put a bunch of the existing tracks all in a row or something like that, I would love that. that is like I said, I've said Sayonara Wild Hearts a couple of times, and like I love that game as a playable album, and that's what some of Skate Story feels like too. So if they had that mode, I'd be all about that as well.
Yeah, Sayonara Wild Hearts shouts out. That's a great game right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's something that I've got in the like break glass in case of emergency. I need a 1 hour game to fill an episode during a month. Like I haven't done
yeah.
that yet. It'll happen, on a long enough timeline for sure. So we talked about those downhills. They're really not. I thought those would be the game, and they're not the
Hmm.
game. They're a small part of the game, actually. They just leave such a big impression. A lot of the other stuff that you're doing is either boss fights or like you know like mini bosses. Like they're kind of hard to describe, but you'll like get in kind of like a skate park arena type thing, and you'll either have an actual boss fight, which involves it's a score attack most of the time. Um,
Hmm.
so you got to do different types of tricks. You've got to build up your combos, and kind of each combo you do, the amount of points will either like correspond to a section of health bar, and you got to take down a certain number of sections, or it's sometimes it feels like just straight up like this boss has this many HP equals this amount of points, get this amount of points, and you'll beat the boss challenge.
Hmm.
Sometimes they have ones where you like hook up to a chain, and it will be like
Yeah.
do a grind, then do an ollie, then do a revert, then do a nollie, then do a pop shove it, and then do any trick you want, and then grind one more time. And it's like a directed like set of things. And I found those to be pretty fun. So I think if there is a great challenge in Skate Story, it's going to be in these sections. So how did you feel about these?
I kind of have mixed feelings for the boss fights. I think I was surprised how many there are. What is there, like 9 or 10 or something total? I
Well,
don't even
there's
know,
uh
but
there's 7 moons, so there's at least seven,
yeah.
but there's even more
And
than
then the
that.
final boss, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I won't spoil what happens, but I say we won't spoil what happens, but this game's really hard to spoil, really, in my opinion. But anyway,
Yeah.
because there's stuff that happens, but we'll say it and you'll be like, "What?" Yeah. Anyway, the bosses are, I'd say they do get a little tedious at times because it's a lot of them are basically the moon will shine something on the ground and you have to hit that final combo square button. Uh, to basically slam down your board on that moonshine area.
Yep.
And I found that to be a little irritating at times because I'd be like trying to get my points up and then you're trying to like chase this like moon glow or like basically imagine like a flashlight spotlight, like a spotlight,
Mhm.
and then you have to slam down to use your combo points to basically tick off HP from a boss. And some of them were fine, and none of them are really challenging. I would say, like except maybe the final boss, which is pretty annoying. I would say it's a little hard, a little maybe gets bumped up in difficulty there. But anyway, uh, it's I will say though, it really kind of like took me out of the game a little bit in the experience because I was more focused on like let's just try to kill this boss as fast as I can to get to the other areas I enjoy a little bit more. I would say that was to me the bosses are probably the lowest part of the game. They're cool. I like the music. They're intense, but I just found the challenge to be kind of like a little forced. I do like that chain stuff though, where you grab the chain and it has like the little combo. I thought that was pretty cool.
Mhm.
Cool idea.
I agree. I think the bosses felt a little tedious at times, and for me it was because I just don't think there's enough tricks to support a really extended score attack section. Um,
Right.
there's a big list of things that you can do, and I missed some. Like I think I missed 3 on the list. Like I looked at it at the end of the game. There's a bunch of stuff I didn't unlock. But I would find myself feeling like I was doing the same tricks over and over again in those boss fight sections because it was like, I'm comfortable with the timing of this. I know, like, oh, this is a big scoring thing. So if I'm about to end a combo, let's see if I can just pull off this one kind of more difficult thing, and then I'll just end the combo right there. But
Hmm.
if you have to do, I'm just going to make up a number. If you have to do 50 tricks in the course of a boss fight and you have 10 tricks in your arsenal, you're going to be doing a lot of the same things over and over again. And like you said, like the music is always insane, the visuals are always insane. Like it's cool to be in there. It's an experience. But I found myself just being like, "Oh, okay, so I've now done 5 180 kickflips in a row. I got to
Yeah.
mix it up." And
Got to do some pop shove it's like 55 pop shove it's, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
there is some tedium in there. I think that the boss fights are still cool for all the other aspects of it. And they do
Yeah.
mix up like what you need to do to beat the bosses. They're not all just like straight up score attacks. Like there's some
That's
where you
true.
have to chase them through levels, like the downhill levels. Some where you have
Mhm.
to collect stuff. There's a lot of different types. Unfortunately, the final boss is just a regular score attack, and it is, dude, it's like 20 times harder than anything else in the game. It's like kind
Yeah,
of
it's
insane. And what sucks, we'll talk about specifics later, but like what sucks is probably like the last hour right before the final boss is like the coolest shit, in my
yeah.
opinion, that I've ever done in a game. And then I get to this final boss that is an absolute fucking meat wall of a score
Mhm.
attack. And it kind of killed the vibe of the momentum and everything that we had. And like within the story of the game, the final boss is supposed to be the biggest challenge that you faced thus far. But I think it was tuned pretty harshly at the end. Like I would have dropped the difficulty if this game had difficulty modes. Like it was that hard. And I've heard a bunch of other people bring this up, and I thought to myself like, well, we'll see when I get there, cuz you know, I'm pro
Yeah.
gamer or whatever. And then I was like, "Oh shit, this is too much. Like this is actually kind of bad."
Yeah, I would agree, and it's like, I'll say the bosses were tedious, but like I said, they're pretty easy, like,
Yeah.
but the first time that I got to that guy, I was like, "Okay, yeah, that." I don't know what he was I think he wanted to be, like, almost crushingly difficult, but for some reason, it was just like, it started to grind on me, like, I was like, "Ugh, this is." Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially like you said, there were some really cool and interesting story beats before that too, so it's kinda like, yeah, I don't know.
It felt like right before that you had a really cool culmination of like story is all coming together, the visuals that are, you're moving from all these place to place in that section before that, the visuals are insane. The song is great. It's a bunch of the downhill levels. It's my favorite stuff. It's like Skate Story
Mhm.
really hitting on all cylinders right at the climax of the game, and then you just smash into a wall. And it's one of those games where I was like, after I did the final boss, I had a hard time enjoying the ending because I thought the final boss sucked so bad. And it like,
Mhm.
yeah, really took away from it in a way that's pretty unfortunate. It's you know, overall a minor part of the game. It is one thing that you do in a series of
Yeah.
many and many, but like for that to happen as the final boss is pretty brutal. Like all the bosses are on timers, and I had a couple where I get down to like 30 seconds on the timer, you know, less than a minute, like usually get like a 3-minute timer or something like that. And I get down to 30 seconds or whatever. And the final boss, I'd be like, I ran out of time and I've done 15% of their health. And then I
Yeah.
did the fight like 20 more times. And the time that I beat it with like 2 seconds on the clock. And it's like, by that point, I'm just like, I'm no longer in it. I just want the game to be over now. And that's a
Yeah, I
bad
just want
switch
this
to have
guy to
flipped.
yeah, I just want this guy to die. Like, I want him to be gone.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think it took me that many tries, but my partner was sitting next to me watching me do this, and they were like, "This seems really hard." And then I got it to like 5 seconds left and beat him too, like right at the end, because like you really have to cram in the score attack to get him
Yeah.
down. On that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of unfortunate. But that is probably the only like boss fight that stuck out in a bad way, like tuning wise. Everything else seemed
Hmm.
fine. So
Yeah.
as always, people's results are going to vary with stuff like that. Just something that hit me really hard, and it was pretty unfortunate. But yeah, anything else about playing Skate Story that we haven't talked about yet?
I think we've hit everything. I do like how the grinds aren't magnetic in this. You actually have to line them up. Like
Yes.
you actually have to like get basically imagine the arc in your head of what your jump's going to do, so when you land on the grind it feels just that much more special to land them. Instead of just hitting the triangle button, you just magnetize to it instantly, you know?
Exactly. There's no grind button in Skate Story. It's, you just jump and line up your board with whatever you're going to grind on. And then, like, depending on the angle that you hit the thing you're grinding on, you'll do different grinds. But, like, it's not like, in Tony Hawk, I press down and triangle to do a specific grind. In this one, it's all
Mhm.
about your angle of approach. So, like, it's super, super satisfying to pull off something like, I'm grinding on this and I jump over a gap, grind on the thing afterward, and then I do a kickflip to jump off of it. And it's like,
Yeah.
that was cool. That was really cool. Love that. And in Tony Hawk,
Yeah.
they're like, that's 15 points.
Right. Yeah, that's the difference there for sure. It's feels more special because like you actually have to plan, like you have to have a plan of attack on that specific place where you're trying to do
Yeah.
like that grind. It's really cool. And then like if you're like, okay, I'm trying to do like a board slide or like a nose grind or something like that, you can kind of like do it, but you have to like maybe get a little lucky too. It's like I feel like that's part of it too, because it's like I can do this perfect jump, but it's like I don't know what kind of grind I'm going to get. But hey, we'll see how it goes, on that.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It was always an accident whenever I did any kind of grind. It was just like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's well, I haven't seen that one before. Wonder how I did that. I'll probably never do it again, but it looks pretty cool." Uh, so I like that kind of like as a wrap up for gameplay stuff is you have to have a plan of attack for
Hmm.
basically anything that you're trying to pull off. Even something as simple as a kickflip involves multiple buttons, and you really have to like line it up, make sure you have a safe landing zone. I guess we didn't mention, but like you, if you fall, your skater shatters, made of glass
Hmm.
again, and then you like restart at a checkpoint. So there's like, it's not like you just like get up and dust yourself off and continue from where you are. Like in those downhill sections, you actually do have to like not hit stuff. Otherwise, you'll get reset to the beginning of that section. Um,
Yeah.
and in the score attacks, you'll lose your combo if you fall down, and you'll lose like whatever momentum you had. So you do have to like be careful when skating. The good thing about it is you don't crash by like not finishing a trick in time, we'll say. Like you can be like mid kickflip and you'll still land on your board, which is not how Tony Hawk works. You also don't have to line up like perfectly, like, you can land sideways on the board. You won't crash that way. So like they do throw you some kindness in that too, to just kind of like keep you moving.
Yeah. It's like fair but intentional. I would say that's the controls are in this. It's like you have to be really yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to be all deep about it, but it's
No,
just really fun to
I
play.
laugh because I laugh because the what came into my head immediately is like, oh, it's the Dark Souls of skating games. I got you.
Oh, okay.
Fair but
Yeah.
intentional. There we
Yeah.
go. Everyone can ring the bell, and that is Skate Story as far as non spoilers go. So let's do our kind of wrap up stuff. Let's get into spoilers because I think we're butting up against it now. So we always ask the question here in this part: who would you recommend play Skate Story? What type of person would this appeal to?
I'd say if you're a fan of skateboarding games, for one, you're gonna have a good time with it. But also, I say I've seen a few people that aren't really into skateboarding games enjoying this because of the just visual package of it. So if the game just looks like something that you want to experience, I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. Just go in with an open mind and know that there are different like segments to it than just that little snippet that you probably have seen from the game. There's a little bit more to it, but once you get into it and you start learning the skating and the gameplay systems, you're going to have a good time.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you look at a trailer or a screenshot and you're like, I think that looks cool, then you should play this because
Yeah.
it's gonna pay off on those things that you think are gonna be cool. They are cool. And it's also interesting in this way, again, in a very indie game kind of way, where sometimes we ask the question like, who do they make this game for? And in Skate Story's case, it's very apparent to me that first and foremost, Sam Eng made this game for Sam Eng, first and foremost. Like, this is
Yep.
the game that Sam Eng wanted to make. And that's cool. Like, I love playing these very personal project type of games too. A lot of times we get them in like more narrative based, like, you know, like a walking sim or like a Despelote from last year, games like
Mhm.
that. Um, it's not often that we get them in like these loud, you know, sports game effectively, or like an arcadey type of thing. But that's what this is. So if you value that, like if you value someone's cool art project as a game to play, then Skate Story is definitely going to give you those cool vibes too. So it's, again, I'm like fairly mixed on the whole experience of playing it, like the minute to minute experience of playing it, but sitting back and thinking about, you know, weighing this part versus this part, the stuff that's really cool about Skate Story is arguably more important to the whole to me
Yeah.
than the fact that like I don't like the open zone sections. I don't like being in them as much, you know. So still a pretty easy recommendation because it's just like, I mean, just watch a 15-second gameplay trailer and you're like, man, this looks cool. Then yeah, play
Yeah.
Skate Story because it'll give you that.
Yeah, so for me, last year I played this when it first came out, and then I, of course, played a little bit more just to get refamiliarized for the show today.
Mm-hmm.
But it did make my top 10. It's my number 6 game of last year.
Okay.
So I mean, in 2025, that's pretty high up there, I would
Yeah.
say. You know, it really hit me. It struck me. You know.
Yeah, I'm thinking of my list, and this would maybe be in like the bottom of my top 10 or maybe on the outside looking in of the top 10.
Yeah,
And there were good games that didn't make the top 10 because 2025 was insane.
it
So,
was.
uh, yeah, I'm a little more mixed on this than a lot of people, but like it's still like, man, this is a really fucking cool game. And so if you're just looking for more of that in your life, then yeah, give this a try. So,
Mhm.
um, before we get into spoilers, we've got housekeeping, as always. And as I said at the top of the show, Josh is part of 2 podcasts. The first one is IndieQuest, where we've had your co-host Steve on the show a couple of times, and
Mhm.
then Monthly Mishap. So please tell people about the shows and where they can find them.
Absolutely. IndieQuest is basically an exploration of indie games, big and small. We're building a list of what we call the quest log, which has 2 sections to it: the main quest and the side quest. Listen to the show; you can get all into that to the specifics there. But the purpose of the list is to give basically this big repository of like recommendations for people, like to fill out their backlogs for with indie games. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we had you on the show and you brought Rain World, you know, for example.
Yep.
You know, so we just continue building the list, and then we do some fun other episodes there. We do music focused episodes we call IQOSTs. We'll do like bargain quests where we like, oh, find a game that's less than $5, or you know, have a fun guest on there. We try to mix it up and just have a good time chatting about some indie games. So check that out. You can find that at IndieQuest. I guess just anywhere you find podcasts, but I guess find us on Blue Sky, IndieQuest Pod, at IndieQuest Pod.
Yep.
And then the other show is the Monthly Mishap, which is a newer show that I'm doing with my friend Chris, where we talk about movies and give each other recommendations each month. And that's just a lot of fun. That's a lot more rated R than the IndieQuest. We you dropped F bombs a lot more, and it's more just relaxed. We just chit chat for 2 to 3 hours about awesome movies and stuff. So you can find that one anywhere you find podcasts, and on Blue Sky, the Monthly Mishap.
Hell yeah. And on IndieQuest, as I think that lines up with people who are listening to this show an hour plus into it, you all always bring like multiple games to the show. Each of you will bring a game to throw in there.
Mhm.
So you get a nice selection. I remember on the show that we did, I talked about Rain World. I think you brought Shotgun Cop Man, which I had
Yeah.
never heard of that game before that episode. And then like I looked it up because you were talking about it. And I watched my friend Bo stream it, and it looked like it's just like a super weird game that I'd never heard of before. So like I value IndieQuest like bringing new things into the conversation. It could be
Mhm.
like could be like the most famous indie game in the world. It could be Hades, or it could
Yep.
be like this new thing that just dropped yesterday that's like, it has 15 Steam reviews or whatever, like all through the whole range of indie games. So I really value the show for that.
Yeah, it's like the fun one recently. Within the last 6 months, they brought like I forgot what Steve brought a big game. Maybe it was Blueprints or something. And then I'm
Yeah,
like, all right,
yeah,
you guys, I'm bringing Dunkadillo.
yeah,
And they're like, Dunkadillo, what the heck is that? And that happens a lot on the show. And we keep the games a secret. We don't even talk about what games we're bringing until we show up.
right.
So that's always fun to get that little bit of surprise.
Yep.
So
Hell
good
yeah.
times.
So did anyone bring Skate Story to IndieQuest?
Oh yeah, I did.
You did, of course.
Of course.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Yep.
I figured it would be between you and Steve if someone was going to bring it. So,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I'll put links down in the show notes for both of the shows, IndieQuest and the monthly Mishap, for all of your indie gaming and then movie podcast needs, so
Yeah.
people can easily find those. And I did most of my plugs at the top of the show. The last one that I didn't say is my Discord server is open. Anyone's free to join. If you want to hop in and talk about the games you're playing, talk about a whole range of other things. And if you want to come in and do a little Skate Story poetry interpretation, that would be a good time to jump in as well. So there's an invite link for that down in the show notes also. So I'm going to catch my breath. When we come back from this music break, it's going to be full spoiler time for Skate Story. All right, before we get to full spoilers for Skate Story, I would like to say thank you to the patrons who help support this show. A big hearty thank you and shout out goes out to Chris Nelson, Zulgeek, Chris Copleen, Eric Guess, Rick Firestone, Nick Fakori, Soccer, Cupcake, Kyle, Christian S, Matt aka Stormageddon, JD, Doug Leaf, Jason Emery, Brian Skirsha, Jenny E, Marcus O'Neill, Stefan, Drellish, Rigamort, Silkanet, Levi, John E, Aliasi, Joseph Hooper, Aaron, Squill, Alan Kress, Doug T, Retro Overdrive, One of Many Tots, Magic Crow, Offshore Meteor, Curly Bright, Ian L, Steve Yeager, Trash Dog Actual, Delaney and Jack McBride, Ethan Young, Michael Lassen, and many more. All of these fine folks have gone to patreon.com/realdavejackson to kick me a few bucks a month and help support the work that I'm doing here on the show, and you can be just like them. You too can have my eternal love and respect and some other treats. So if that sounds cool to you, once again, that is patreon.com/realdavejackson. And with that being said, let's get back to full spoiler time for Skate Story. Okay, we're back. It's full spoiler time now for Skate Story, and a couple of big disclaimers at the beginning of the spoiler section. Number one, we're not going to save the ending for the end of the podcast. So if you have not finished the game, I don't think we'll talk about the ending in the next couple minutes, but we might. I'm not closing that off. So go finish the game and come back if you're worried about any spoilers at all. And the other thing is, this spoiler section is a little bit of plot recap and a little bit of chat about that, but a lot of interpretation. So our interpretation may be different from yours. Josh and I have not pre-discussed our interpretations. We might have different interpretations. That's what makes shit like this fun. So we may come away with something that you think is wrong. That's how this goes, though. So hope you enjoy. So here's where we go. So we start this contract with the devil, and we're on the quest to eat the moons. And this is one of those stories, one of those narratives where you're doing this thing and you get a sense a certain time into it that like, maybe I shouldn't be eating these moons. This is not going to end well, is it? Like, did you get that sense as you were going?
It's very Shadow of the Colossus. You're like, I'm killing these colossi. Why am I doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very similar energy there for sure.
Yeah. So you're going through, you eat the moons. Everyone in these, so it's like different layers of the underworld. They all have different moons. The different moons provide different things for them, and nobody wants you to eat their moon. You start to get into like different barriers blocking you from getting to the moons and stuff like that. And eventually, you just kind of like go through these different situations that kind of remind me of like different life experiences in a way. Like
Hmm.
in chapters 2 and 3, there's this thing they keep talking about where like the skater is really tired and needs to sleep, and like nothing is really bringing sleep. The only thing that's bringing sleep is having a full belly, and the only way to get a full belly is to eat a moon. So it's like, look, everyone down here, I'm real sorry about your moon, but like I got to do this cuz I got to sleep. So that's like an early type of thing, and then it gets into like this like, oh, you don't have a permit to sleep here. You need to go to the Department of Death, I think they called it, or like something like that. You got to get your permit. They go to the permit and they're like, well, to get your permit, we got to check your contract. And it's this Kafka-esque bullshit. And that feels like a very real, like, city life experience where it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
got a ticket. I got to go here to pay the ticket. Well, they say you got to go, you actually have to go over here. You have to go to this website. You have to use this browser, like just so much bullshit like that. And it's like, it's ridiculous when you're doing it in the game. Like if you just take it all at face value, it's like, why is there like a weird shaped dude waking me up, telling me I don't have a permit to sleep here? Like it doesn't make sense. But like, that's what's kind of cool about the story is like, nah, zoom out a little bit. Like, this
Hmm.
really maps onto like pretty universal human experience, I think.
Yeah. It's like that, like you said, it's like a moment in the DMV, or like trying to the little mundane things you need to do, and then the thought of like, it's just like the basic idea, like I need to work to get money to pay my rent. This like a basic thing like that too. I feel like it's like a little bit shining lights on some mundane things,
Hmm.
and making it so much more, through the gameplay and things. I don't know. It's weird, but in a good way.
Yeah. Even like
Yeah.
the tasks that you're doing, they're weird because they're skate story, but like there's a
Yeah.
whole section of the game where it's like you got to do the devil's laundry, and it's like
Yeah.
in order in order to do the laundry, you have to find all the parts and then you have to hang them up, and then like, oh, the wind blew it
Hmm.
away, you got to go pick it up. Like you can feel yourself in the game be like, all right, I'll go get the fucking pants and then I'll bring it back. And it's like, a part in real life where you're like, I can't believe I have to do this. Like how demeaning is life sometimes when I have to like
Right.
do this bullshit to like go on with my day and have people leave me alone or something like that.
Yeah. It's very I have a checklist of chores I got to get done. This sucks, but that's life. It has a little bit of that, and then it's just hard for me to read because I'm like, okay, they have this. This must be something. Maybe he like I'm trying to put myself in the creator's shoes. Like, okay, so maybe he is relating to laundry sucks. Like maybe it's that simple. I don't know, but like
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure.
I
Yeah.
for like if you do use a laundromat, like if that's how you do your laundry, then that's
Hmm.
a core part of your routine
Yeah.
weekly, right? You gotta go to the
Right.
laundromat. That shit takes time. You gotta carry all your stuff there. You gotta like make that decision. Like, do I leave? Like, do I trust this place to like leave my clothes here and then hope that someone doesn't like pull my shit out because there's no empty washing machines or whatever? Um, or do I sit in this place for hours while my stuff goes and like bring a book or bring my Switch or whatever it is to the laundromat, but like I'm stuck here until the timer's up over there, like
Yeah.
the mundane nature of that kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
it may be something as simple as like, yeah, going to the laundromat's like a core part of city life for a lot of people. Maybe it is like
Yeah.
that. Maybe it's something like, if you have a job where you feel like the thing that you're doing is like, this is bullshit, like, but I got to do it, in order to in order to continue to exist, I got to do this thing that I don't want to be doing. Maybe I feel like it's beneath me or something like that. So maybe it's something like that.
Yeah, I feel like we could all relate to that for sure. Like you could tell it has a little bit of him in it, even from that perspective, because like we'll get to the ending, and like I have my own interpretation of what he's trying to say with that, like the whole like big third act thing that happens.
Right.
But with these little moments where you're talking to a trash bag, you go into a trash bag and or you're going to like the laundry room, or like you said, get a permit to sleep. Just these little mundane things. I feel like it's like life. There's like big things that happen in life. You're going down of doing the downward crazy fun skate levels. You have the fun moments, and then you have the mundane, like, all right, I guess this Saturday I don't really get to do anything fun. I gotta run 4 errands and do my thing. And I feel like this game echoes that a
Hmm.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that might be some of the benefit too of if we are mapping it onto like life's not always fun. Sometimes life is mundane, and we're choosing to have you experience that in a skateboarding game. Then maybe that's what those open sections are there for, is to be the boring part. And
Mhm.
like, I do respect game developers, and I don't know if this is the intent or not, but I do respect game developers purposely making things not fun for effect sometimes. So, like, I get it. I just like I didn't want to be in there. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the point is I don't want to be in there. Um,
Yeah.
so you get to the permit place, you show them your permit, they're like, okay, we got to check your contract, and then they find out there was never a contract between you and the devil. You were tricked. The devil wants you
Hmm.
to eat the moons for something else. So like, being tricked, human experience, or being taken advantage of, human experience. So you're a
Hmm.
fugitive. You are on the run from the cops for a couple of chapters. Not hard to imagine, like skateboarder being chased away by the cops out of a place, right? Like
Right.
it may not be something more. It may be something more serious than that. It may not be, but like I didn't even skate, and I got chased out of places by the cops when I was a kid. Like it happens. You get
Yeah, you
into
just go.
places and they show up and you're like, "Oh shit, run."
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have got up on that roof or whatever. Yeah, you know.
Sounds like you've got
Yeah,
a story to tell involving a roof.
maybe a couple.
Yeah, me and my friends when we were kids, there was an abandoned car dealership, and
Hmm.
they had this little fenced in area outside where it had like their big air conditioner, and then like there's some couches and stuff outside. And we just like go
Yeah.
hang out, sit on the couches, play hockey in their abandoned parking lot, and like just chill. And like sometimes the cops would like see a bunch of kids playing this, abandoned back, car dealership area, and they'd come and we'd be like, "Oh fuck," and everyone get on their bikes and ride away and stuff like that. And skating is like the stereotypical thing for that. Like, you can't skate here, get out of here. And it's like, well, I'm just on
Yeah.
the sidewalk, like, you know,
Right.
I'm in a park, it's a public
Yeah.
place, stuff like that.
Yeah, for me the story is I used to work at a gas station, like my first job when I was a teenager. The store didn't end up being a 24-hour store after a while, but I was the assistant manager, so I had the keys and I knew how to get up on the roof. And
Uh-huh.
we decided it was a good idea to build a little bonfire up on the roof
Oh,
of the gas
nice.
station.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so we started a fire on top of the roof of the gas station. We got in a lot of trouble for that, we'll just say. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Fires and gas, hindsight's 2020, but fires and gas stations
Right.
are a bad combination.
Yeah. It was very dumb. I was very dumb as a kid, but I mean, who isn't,
Right. Yeah, we all
So
have our moments for sure. So the the other thing that kind of like gets brought up, the reason that eating the moons is bad, aside from the fact that everyone in these places doesn't want you to eat their moon, it's their like you're in the underworld, it's dark. It's their source of light, if nothing else, is those moons that
mhm,
you're eating. So that's not great. But also, you start to get warned by like I think it's like moon 6 or 7 or something like that that uh somehow the moons are keeping this thing asleep called the eternal centipede, and you get like a warning that like you're going to unleash the eternal centipede. And you read that and you're like, I don't know what that means, but it's not going to be good if we unleash the eternal
Yeah.
centipede. So you're on this like you're on this quest that you know is not going to end well. And again, zoom out. How many of us have been in a situation where like you're on some kind of path, you're doing something and you know it's not good for you. Like it's not going to end well.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be something like really self-destructive or anything, but like it could just be like staying in a relationship too long or staying in a job too long or in my case, I think it's most easy to say like staying with unhealthy habits, even though I know it's like very bad for me.
Yeah.
And I need to make a
Hmm.
change. I need to stop doing this thing. But uh, inertia is strong enough that you just kind of keep going with it longer than you should. That's kind of my takeaway from this type of thing. Because as fantastical as it is, I feel like you have to zoom out a little bit to connect to it.
Yeah, I agree. Just to be a little open, I'm an alcoholic. I'm a recovering alcoholic. So I've been clean for over 5 years now.
Hell yeah.
Woohoo! But anyway, so I relate to this like alcohol. Like once you get that beast, like what I'll tell somebody is like I can't just drink one beer. I'll drink one beer, and then I'll be wake up next Sunday 40 beers later. You know what I mean? That's the
Hmm.
type of thing that I was dealing with, and I can understand that pain point of like, okay, there's this thing I shouldn't be doing, but whatever it is, whatever reasoning I can come up with, I keep doing it and I keep doing it and I keep doing it. And eventually that centipede's going to come for me or something
Yeah.
bad's going to happen,
Yeah.
right? Like something bad's going to happen and I'm going to screw up because I'm being self destructive.
Yeah. Um, in my case, I've talked about this on this show a few times, but I've had weight issues throughout my life. And like right now, I'm probably about 100 pounds down from my heaviest weight. And
That's awesome.
yeah, I mean, and same for you, like 5 years, that's awesome. But like there were a lot of times when it's like, I used to have problems with binge eating where it'd be like, I know in the moment, I'm like, dude, you should not be doing this right now. It's not good for you. It's
Hmm.
going to make it harder to make that up somehow. But inertia carries us in a lot of those cases. Those, and in some cases, those chemicals that our brains are telling us, like, you got to do this.
Yeah.
But the other part of your brain is like, man, you can't be doing this. That's what this kind of feels like. You kind of, and the Shadow of the Colossus thing is a good game
Hmm.
comparison, but like this game feels more true to life than like a more universally human type of thing than a Shadow of the Colossus.
Then a
Like,
big fantastical thing. Yeah.
I mean, Shadow of the Colossus is very human at its core, of course, but
Hmm.
this does feel like it's on its surface, it's the most out there thing you've ever experienced, but like it's not hard to connect this. This is a human story. At least our interpretation, which happens to like line up pretty well so far. Um,
I think so. Yeah.
yeah. So you're gonna let out that centipede. And when the centipede comes out, the thing that you thought was going to happen does happen. It's extremely bad when the centipede comes out.
Right.
Like everyone told you, this is going to suck. And you're like, yeah, sure, whatever. We'll see when we get there. That's a problem for future Dave. And
Hmm.
it does suck when the centipede comes out. Just like in both of the things that we've talked about too.
Yeah, it's like when you're in this like mindset where like the thing that ends up happening is with addiction, which I feel like might be maybe it's loosely addiction. I'm reading it as addiction a little bit.
Sure. It's
But
interpretation.
uh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but is you kind of desire that thing and that's all you can think about. And I feel like when you're playing this game, that's all the skater wants to get to the moon. That's the primary thing it's focused on,
Yeah.
the skater. So just interpreting it, I feel like that's the beast on your back whenever you're dealing with something that is like all encompassing your world when you don't want it to be, basically.
Yeah, for sure. And like I think there's a certain point in here where like I kind of forgot that the moons were a means to an end to like gain your freedom. We don't
Hmm.
really know what that even means within this story. Like, what does it mean to earn your freedom from this? Does it mean you go back to the living world? Like, are you? Who knows? But Even when that becomes like it's not real anymore, like they're
Yeah.
like, you don't actually have a contract with the devil. You're not going to get your freedom by doing this. You still, that inertia keeps you going. You're like, all right, well, what can I do? Well, there's a moon. I can go eat the moon again. Um, so yeah, that's what you do. You keep going to that. And then, yeah, you let the centipede out. The centipede eats you. You lose your glass body. So there's 10 chapters. This is chapter 7, where this is where like the emotional resonance of the story like really starts to hit. And this is where it becomes very clear that this is not just a skating game. Like this is a story that Sam Eng wanted to tell through all of these abstractions. The skater like hits this rock bottom point where you lose your glass body, and your original body is like this wire mesh, or like this
Mhm.
collection of wires, and you try to eat the moons again and they just like fall out. Like you can't keep anything in anymore. And you have like this real down part where the skater's just like sitting slumped over in this chair, and you get a bunch of these dialogue boxes that say stuff like, I hate this body, I hate skating, I hate everything, this has to end, this will end. It repeats a bunch of times. And like you're just kind of sitting there in this chair. Like you can't get up, you can't move. And it's a rock bottom. Like this is where the plot of like the centipede ate me, how do I get out of the centipede? Like that doesn't really matter anymore. It's like we're in like the
Yeah.
emotion zone now.
Yeah, it's like a he's overwhelmed by this feeling, this impossible feeling, and doesn't know who he is anymore, I
Yeah.
guess, or they are anymore. You know, they don't know who they are. They were this one thing, but now they're not that because they made these poor choices.
Yeah.
That's pretty much where he's at. And it's like I keep saying hate he because I'm reflecting myself and maybe the
Sure.
creator a bit onto it, but obviously it's just a skater. There's no gender or anything there.
Right.
But it's more like a I'm overwhelmed. I don't know who I am. I hate who I am. I hate everything. Even these things that brought me joy aren't bringing me joy anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I read into this
Yeah.
part of the game.
100%. And it like continues in the next chapter. It begins with like this part where like the skater smashes and dies like 100 times,
Mhm.
like over and over again. Um, they say that you're inside Oblivion, as like that's the name of the place that you're in. You're inside the centipede. It ate you. And that was like really that part where you smash over and over again. It goes on for a while. Like they really drill
It
home
does.
like pain after pain after pain after pain. Like you're really going through it. Whatever it is, whatever you're mapping onto it, you're really going through it here. You've lost, like you said, you've lost your sense of identity, any source of passion, anything that used to bring you comfort doesn't bring you comfort anymore. There's like nothing worth it at all.
Yeah, it's just like a it's just that rock bottom feeling. I mean, I feel like most people have been there, but that just that feeling like what do I do now? Like there's nothing for me anymore. I my passions don't really bring me joy anymore, etc. And it just it's very uncomfortable and the visuals here are just like very red, like bloodshot, like all of it and just very like intense. Like of course the whole game's intense, but like I feel like this is like so the way they convey it, it just feels so menacing and like sad and forlorn, you know? Like they do such a good job in this part to just make it feel hopeless, you know?
Yeah. And this is a good time, I think, to talk about some of the NPCs that I picked up on because I didn't write down every NPC's stuff, but there's some NPCs you can talk to, and there's some like writing around the world that like if you read, it's actual like poetry. It's not just like garbage words that they figure no one's going to read. Um, this is why Gen AI could never do something worth like stopping and reading in a game.
Yep.
So there's like some big red skeletons that you talk to throughout a bunch of different chapters, and you learn a little bit about their life. Like there's two of them. They're in this like they're in a relationship, and they have like this very weird relationship with each other right now. Um, and there's a line from one of the skeletons that I read, and it kind of like floored me a little bit because some of the NPCs are goofy as hell. And then I read this like
Hmm.
line from the skeleton where he says, he's kind of talking about his life. And then he says, I gave everything to be free for just a moment on my darkest day, and I floated like a stone. And it feels like that skeleton killed
Man,
himself. Like that's
it really does.
pretty
Hmm.
brutal to read. And there's a lot of other places where you look where there's like pain in these citizens of the underworld. That's the one that I like
Hmm.
specifically like paused the game to write down. But uh, there's some goofy characters down there, but like there's a lot of pain throughout the underworld here, and kind of like in a way just saying like look around you, like we're all going through it in some way.
Yeah, a lot of loneliness too. There's like a lot of people like the way they animate a lot of the NPCs too, especially I keep going back to the laundromat. I don't know why that sticks in my head, but that weird looking dude, I don't know his name, but this sitting on the laundry just looking lonely,
Hmm.
it just sticks with me. Like it just feels like, you know, everybody feels that way sometimes. And I feel like just skating around seeing the people. Of course there's going to be like the crazy like the vibes. I'm this vibe skeleton and the
Immaculate
fun
vibes.
factor
Yeah.
there, immaculate vibes. And then, the guy in the coffee, what was it? A bird in the coffee shop, which was random, but,
Oh yeah.
like the hipster bird in the coffee shop. Like, but the thing is like when you look around in a city, it's full of characters and everybody is going through their own shit. And I feel like that's really highlighted through these weird little dudes that are kind of just crazy and weird, but also they have bars like
Yep.
right there. That what you just read was just powerful and like it gets to the core of you, right? When
Hmm.
you read stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's also a poem written on a monolith that I wrote down that just like I just happened to like stop the character and like like set the game down to like check my phone or something like that, and it was like in view, and I was like, okay, I wonder what that says. And I read it, and it was like this really painful poem just on this thing. That's how it exists within the game. Like Sam Eng apparently is just writing poems like left and right. Like you get them
Hmm.
throughout the game. They're on stuff within the game. So this one, for people who didn't play, it's not that long, but I do think it's like this is a snapshot. It's one monolith in one section of one open world thing, and there's probably a bunch of other stuff like this, like the philosopher's zone in the beginning, kind of in that tutorial,
Hmm.
is full of like these things with a bunch of writing on them, and it's worth it to like stop and read them. So here's
Yeah.
this one. I'm just gonna read it. It says, the amount of times I spent hunched over here seeking resolution within myself, creating a false heaven inside these walls. Do you know, will you know, that I cared so much for that salvation when uncertainty and shame ripped my laundry apart? I forced myself to cry. I forced out tears to prove that suffering. I forced out tears to prove that suffering, and in the fumes of salt, I barely wept. I pretended to, for my own sake. An endless night inspecting microscopic texts is the only salvation that I have. Stuck in this hell of eternity, pausing for the day I wake with a centipede on my face. Like thoughts from the
Crazy
skater's
in a good
mind
way.
projected, or
Hmm.
just something else in the world, just a little shot of a vibe to read. But like, I think that's super cool.
Yeah. Who knows what who wrote that, right? It could just be like you said, something that lives in the world. Maybe that is a person, like, or like a being of some type in this like uh I guess nether world or underworld
Hmm.
that like exists, and all that's left of them is just this text that is who they are.
Yeah.
Who knows? Like it's hard to tell, but I love I just honestly I would give him a million kudos for all the amazing writing in this. Like I love the poetry in this.
Yeah.
It's just it's very evocative. I love the chapter ending poems too. I was reading those like 2 or 3 times because I was like, damn, this is just beautiful. Like some of these are just written so well, you know. It's just really well done.
They do convey a lot of stuff, and they also like recap the chapters for you because like we said before, the actual events of the chapters are these ethereal and weird things. So they might be hard to like remember what happened at the beginning of this chapter, like literally what happened, and those poems do
Hmm.
give you a bit of a recap. So they're cool. And I just wanted to highlight that one is, like we said, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of loneliness throughout Skate Story, and you get it from a lot of different places. So,
Yeah.
um, back to our character who is at that low point, slumped over in the chair. And I wonder what you make of like kind of the way that you're built back up. So your character is just in this chair, unable or unwilling to move at absolute rock bottom. And then a couple of things
Hmm.
happen that get you back up and moving again. You get some words of encouragement from your friends a little bit. Frotu and,
Hmm.
and Coney and I think Larry is the skull. The skull's name is Larry, I want to say.
Yeah, his name is Larry.
Yeah,
Yep.
the
Hmm.
Immaculate Vibes skull. A little bit of
Hmm.
words of encouragement. And then there's this section where you play as the skater's shadow walking around. Like your shadow leaves your body and walks
Hmm.
around. And the shadow finds the skateboard again. And you kind
Hmm.
of you have this like really cool section where it looks like you're just controlling the board and there's nothing on it and you're just kind of flipping the board around. Obvious to me that like at rock bottom, rediscovering a passion is the thing that gets you moving once again. Like we said, inertia. It's hard to stop, but it's also hard to start again once you've stopped
Right.
in a certain direction. So that's what gets you going here. I wondered about this like this section where like you're sitting you first you control the chair and you like move around to different
Yeah.
places and then you have the section where the shadow gets up and walks away basically finds the board and gets you
Hmm.
moving.
To me, it was kind of more like he's kind of sitting there in this chair, and this is what he's kind of thinking or imagining. Maybe
It could be, yeah.
it's kind of weird, but maybe it's just part of him is like I'm longing for that feeling again, and I can't get myself out of this rut, which is the chair. I'm trying to be go skate again, you know, literally. I'm trying to get up to go skate again, but only a portion of me is able to reach out and get back to that part of my life about this thing I really love and enjoy. And then once I rediscovered that, I can skate again. Maybe
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you maybe you go through the motions, but you're not all of you is not there and present for it. Maybe
Hmm.
you try out skating again. It feels okay, but it's like not the same as it used to be, you know. But the
Yeah.
longer the section goes on, you go through those really cool linear sections. You start to gain a bunch of momentum, and eventually, like the skater, you do a boss fight to get your soul back. I want to say, and you eat your soul because that's the only way you interact with anything is by eating it. You eat your soul
Yeah.
to get it back. And there's a cool section. I don't have like a lot to say about it other than this is cool. There's a part where it's like, it looks like you're in the game dev software and like the screen,
Yeah.
you're
It's like
playing the
go
game.
back to the beginning,
Yeah.
right? Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a reset. Yeah. Back to the, literally back to the engine within that everything runs within or whatever.
Hmm.
And then I really love this next section where the skater is like sitting there in the chair and you play as like the skater's soul going around and picking up all these broken shards of glass, like your former body, your
Hmm.
former self. And all you have to do is go collect a bunch of these things of glass, you bring them back, and they go attach themselves back onto the skater's body. But it's not like the smooth skater that you once were. It's like really it looks like it's really haphazard. It's not smooth. It's all jagged. There's a bunch of pieces where they shouldn't be and stuff like that. And I thought that was a really powerful image for taking a step, right? Like
Yeah.
you've been damaged by this experience or something like that. And you're out there doing the thing again and you're not perfect. You're not the person you used to be, at least not right now, but that's okay because you're at it. You're moving again.
Yeah, you're picking back up you're picking up the pieces and rebuilding who you are
Yeah.
by healing, right? Basically. That's a really powerful thing because like if we go back to like the whole feeling of like this horrible thing you're doing, you know it's going to end badly, but you keep doing it anyway, and then you're down like at your lowest point because of this thing you did. And then now what do you do? I just got to rebuild and pick up the pieces. I might not be the same person after this, but that's okay. I
Yeah.
feel like that's pretty much the message here, right?
Right. I love that message. I love the way it's visualized. Nobody says this in the game. It's just literally what does the skater look like during this section conveys so much
Mhm.
based on where we've been. And then you do a section where you like, it's called the Blackest Fire boss fight, where you have to like, instead of scoring points, you raise the temperature in this oven. And it's like, you know, reforging glass or something like that. And you come out of this experience stronger than you were when you started.
Mhm.
These experiences suck, but when you do come out the other side, you can find yourself stronger for having gone through all of it.
Yeah. And it's like a there might be an inciting moment or it might just be time.
Yeah.
That's all you need. And then by the time you get out the other side, you're a new version of yourself. You're still yourself. You still have those flaws and but you have the memories and the learning from all your mistakes from the past.
Yep. And the next section of the game, like you have this like renewed purpose and stuff, and this is so cool. Like the moons are still out there. You're going after these moons, and it goes one by one, and it kind of like calls back to all the previous moon levels, all their gimmicks, all their color schemes, and you're like jumping. You're doing all these downhill sections, and then like the beginning of a boss fight. And then you're like, okay, I'm in the red moon boss fight. I remember I have to get into that red circle under the moon, do a trick, and you just do it once. And then you move to the next moon section downhill, a little slice, like reference to the boss fight. And the music is going. There's a great momentum to this. There's a great pace to it. It's like, it's really, really cool. And it's like re empowering you as the player after basically like there was no skating to be had in the last couple of chapters. You're like playing through a story in the last couple of chapters, very little skating at
Mhm.
least. And then now you're back and you're re-empowered, you feel great, and you're ready to take on whatever it is again. In this case, you're ready to go take on the centipede. But again, zoom out, whatever it is that you're mapping this onto, you're refreshed and renewed. And it's the way they gamify it, the way they design the levels around it, the way the music works. It's perfect in this section.
Honestly, it's probably the best part of the
Oh
game.
yeah,
Just that
100%.
that
Yeah.
like I could if there was a way just to play that like I'm about to I'm just want to like get started. I'm about to start a gaming session and have 30 minutes or whatever and just play that part over and over again. Like I would do that, like it's just so good.
There is there no chapter select? I feel like there's a chapter.
There probably
There
is.
probably is.
I think there is.
This isn't the whole
Yeah.
chapter, but yeah, this is the best part of the game, and like it would be super cool if this happened. If they just made you play through this in chapter 2 or whatever, like it would be awesome. But I do think that like the emotional arc that you went on in the chapters before this makes this moment like really pop in a
Yeah, it's like earned.
yeah,
Yeah.
it feels earned, not because like I earned something as a player, but like the skater earned something within the story. And then again,
Mhm.
if you are mapping this onto personal experience or something like that, like maybe you do come out the other side and you're like, I actually know what to do. Like I know how to move forward. I know how to maybe stay out of that situation again. Maybe I know how to like actually conquer this thing and like regain
Yeah.
control or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's that very that good feeling. It's like, you know what? I learned something and I'm the best version of me so far.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lot of the message of the game and really reflects, like you said, through the gameplay and just the presentation of the game is already just awesome. So just getting that and just getting like the little snippets just to remind you how cool all the other early segments were is always nice to kind of revisit that, kind of like a mini montage almost here,
It
which I
definitely,
enjoy.
yeah, it definitely has a montage feel to it. And that's, I mean, that's like the feel good climactic moment of movies that have montages, right? So
Yeah. Hmm.
hell yeah, we get our montage section. So into the annals of great montages in history, right next to Rocky movies, we've got the Skate Story montage in chapter 9.
Perfect.
And then we fight the final boss, which sucks ass, in my opinion. We have all this momentum, all the things that we just talked all that sugar about, smashes into this final boss, and like, it really sucks. It's way too hard. They could make this half as difficult, and it would still feel like an earned victory, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think that honestly, the health pool is just overtuned for that boss. If you just like 75% of the health pool, I honestly feel like it'd be fine.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We wouldn't have that friction that we had.
Uh,
Like I feel like you had a little bit more friction than me,
mhm.
but I don't think that's because of skill. I think I just lucked out on that one, you know?
I definitely had like probably 5 attempts where I was like trying to play it like I played the other boss fights, and then at the end of those I was like, this isn't going to work. Like, just straight up
You
this.
gotta cheese it,
Yeah.
right?
And then it was like, okay, you always got to be doing tricks, and it's like kind of hard to play perfectly for 3 straight minutes. I felt like there was just no margin for error, and
Hmm.
it would get to the point where I'd be like, because you can get a combo going before the boss's health bar comes up. And then the health bar comes
Yeah.
up, and if you have a combo going, you can get like a free hit basically at the beginning. And it got to the point where it was like, if I messed up that free combo at the beginning, I just restart because I'd be like, I have no chance here.
It's kind of a bummer because it does go against like the whole theme of like rebuilding and growing and learning from the past. And it's just like, okay, well now you just got to be perfect to get through this thing,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I mean,
yeah.
it does work with the theme in the sense that like whatever that monster is for you, you're going to have to confront it head on at some
Hmm.
point. But
Yeah.
like you said, it does require probably, I think, too much perfection to make it like
Right.
really effective. And so all of that goodwill, all that momentum, all those awesome feelings I had in that last chapter, by like the 15th time I'm attempting this final boss fight, I'm like, man, fuck this game. Like, can we just finish this? Like, get this done with?
Yeah.
And I hate when endings, like, it's not that they tarnish the things that came before it, but they definitely don't let me sit during the credits and like fully reflect and enjoy the experience I've been on. It's more like I get to the credits in this game and I'm like, well, all right, well, that's over. I did that thing. Although the last chapter in this game is so out there that it kind of like drew me back in a little bit.
Yeah. It's kind of makes you think a little bit, but I do agree. Like, even if the last chapter is not very long, it's like what, 30 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
So like you're sitting there for an hour plus just grinding on this boss.
Yeah.
And then you have like a nice 30-minute thing. You're like, yeah, that was nice, but that freaking boss, that motherfucker, you
Yep.
know, like that's the reality of it.
Yeah, not great. But that last chapter is very weird and very cool. There's 2 main sections to it. The first one, you control the subway car that all the characters have been in for the rest of the game. And you're just kind of like going through space trying to find the skater. And then there's the part where you kind of find the skater because he's turned into a slug. Like you find a mass of glass that's like out there and it forms up into a slug, and then you have this like downhill like kind of victory level where it's like there's really nothing
Mhm.
to it. You're just going down this downhill. You're a literal slug on a skateboard going down this like highway, and off in the distance there's a giant moon with the lit up like light map of New York City, and it's
Yeah.
incredibly cool visually. And I think maybe there's some symbolism to read into of like you being a slug in there. But it's so cool visually that like a lot of the bad feelings from that boss fight kind of faded, where I was like, all right, it almost made me like take a step back and reset, be like, I'm a slug
Mhm.
now. And look at that moon. It's so cool. All right, I'm back in.
Yeah, I don't know what the slut. Maybe this is like the new version of you. This is like your chosen version of you because you conquered this demon, and maybe you didn't completely conquer it, but you get to go be that version of yourself that you've always imagined yourself being, which just so happens to be a slug for some reason.
Yeah, it could be that you come out of this experience like a little vulnerable. Like I think a slug kind of symbolizes vulnerability to me.
That's true. Yeah.
It could be something like that. It could just be that like slugs are kind of cool. They're kind of weird. They're kind of alien. Like if you're feeling any of those things.
Hmm.
But it's undeniably like a good section, I think. So we'll try and map on like something positive to it. It's cool though. Like if nothing else, it
Yeah.
is a cool as hell vibey final level.
Yeah, and like your question earlier was like, what happens if he's free? But maybe this is freedom for this particular being or person that they just want to go skate around the city and be a cool alien looking little slug dude. Maybe that's their whole goal. The thing that would make them feel the most free in this bizarre world.
Yeah, it could be like in a symbolic way. Maybe the skater was a slug the whole time. They just assumed a human form in the underworld. Who knows? Um, and then
Yeah, maybe.
one final thing to just like show you that moon with the light map of New York City, just to show you like New York is a part of all of this in this story. For by the person who's telling this
Hmm.
story, like New York is a core part of their identity, and it will always be there. Like as so, like we're back in it. So I thought it was kind of cool at the end. And
It
then
was cool.
the credits roll, and there's one more quote from Larry the Skull. It's not the Immaculate Vibes quote, but it's another quote that kind of summarizes like the feeling I had coming away from this game. Like I felt kind of seen by the game, and there's this one quote that really hit for me. It's Larry's sitting in the subway car, and in his typical like all caps uh, speech, Larry says, "We're terrified, stupefied, nullified. Dot dot dot. We still exist." And
Hmm.
there's a lot of ways, especially with current events being the way they are. There's a lot of ways that like we feel small, we feel scared, we feel irrelevant. We feel like we don't know what to do. We feel like there's nothing we can do, but the at the base of it, we still exist, and the fact that we still exist means that we can do something, whatever it is that we choose to do. It really echoes to me one of my favorite lines of Disco Elysium, which has this exact same message. That line in Disco Elysium says, it's talking about the city kind of like a little bit. It says, "This is somewhere to be. This is all you have, but it's still something. Streets and sodium lights, the sky, the world, you're still alive." At the end of all the shit
Hmm.
that the character in Disco Elysium went through, you're still alive. And that means you have hope. And that's why I feel like this game is a very human, very hopeful story. And this line from Larry just kind of like nailed that. Like, yeah, you feel
Yeah.
terrified, stupefied, nullified, but you exist. And that's a starting point.
Yeah. That's so well told. I can't follow that very well, but no, but I relate to that heavily, especially with just how the world is in 2026, 2025. Just yeah, sucks sometimes, but it's like yes, you exist to like persevere and to hopefully help everything get better in the end, right? Like that's the whole thing. But yeah, the game you're like reframing this game a bit more for me. I love this conversation because like I'm like I kind of got the feeling of the story, but after talking with you about this, I'm like, damn, this maybe I need to play this again. Like this story is actually really good.
Yeah.
Like for what it is, it's it's very symbolic and bizarre out there, etc. But having the cool kooky skull have the basically inciting, like not the inciting, but the closing comment really almost of the game that's like that powerful is pretty special.
Yeah. And I think that line comes, I forget what chapter it was from. And I scrubbed through some Let's Plays. I couldn't find it, but I feel like it came from like those chapter 6, 7, 8 area, like in like the kind
Yeah.
of rock bottom section of the game where it's like at our core, no matter what else is happening, you still exist. And that's something. That's not nothing. So that leaves room for hope. That leaves room for perseverance and things like that. And it's really what I take away from the game. And notice how in the
Mhm.
spoiler section we've barely talked about skating because like throughout the whole time you're skating, you're doing the thing, but like skating seems to be the vehicle for which the story is delivered. This emotional arc is delivered and it's going to get you to this like ending takeaway. Or at least for me, this is what the takeaway was. And skating was kind of like a means to an end. It was a fun thing to do on the way to getting this message. And
Yeah.
this part of like I couldn't say it earlier, but it's like part of why I despite being like pretty mixed on the minute to minute gameplay, like this game has a lot going on that is worthwhile. It's worthwhile. I think that every story, every well done story, but like every story that ends with this kind of message is important because I mean, you look out your window, even some places in the country, in our country, you literally look out your window and see evil shit happening, and
Yep.
it's just really hard to feel anything but helpless at certain points. And I think that like
Mhm.
I don't go seeking out games like this, but when I do find one and when I do get this message, it's always valuable to kind of refresh that a little bit.
Yeah, and just like anything that comes from a human perspective, it's not perfect. Like this, the game, we had a lot of little nitpicky things about the game, but when we look back on this as like a, you know, as like a piece of art that's trying to say something and trying to basically take a piece of somebody and
Hmm.
put it out there for the world to experience, I feel like in 3 or 4 years, I'm not going to be saying, "Oh, the last boss fight was annoying," or "This part was annoying about the game." We're going to be like, damn, that game was awesome because it was something special that you basically don't see every day, and it's telling a story that is very personal and it's very uplifting. I feel like this game is very uplifting in a lot of ways. The way just playing the game feels good, that's uplifting already, but the story is also makes you feel good because it's hopeful, like you were saying.
Yeah. And taking you on that very human, very relatable journey to get to that point where we end on that point. So yeah, good game and
Mhm.
an interesting game. Sometimes this happens where like I'm more positive in the moment playing a game and then I get to the show and it's like I don't have a lot of like really glowing things to say about it, or I spend more time talking about critiques. And then sometimes the opposite happens where I'm like in the moment, and even in my like little, I write little blurbs, blurb reviews. There's a lot of Discord servers that have channels where it's like, write a 200 word review of a game you just finished. And I like the people do for Polykill. If you like, you do the Polykill
Mhm.
things.
Yeah, I participate in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, and in that, I wrote probably a much more mixed review than I would if I wrote one after finishing this recording. Cause like
Right.
bringing up a lot more of that like kind of important story stuff and some of the gameplay stuff just kind of fades. So that's the beauty of some of these conversations. So this has been really fun and I appreciate you going on the journey with me.
Oh yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on for one, but also just for reframing this game because I already love this game. Like it was like I said, it was one of my favorite ones last year. It just this is a game that people were like DMing me and showing me because they knew I was gonna like it.
Hmm.
Sometimes there's a game like that, and it came out and it delivered. You know, all the little nitpicks aside, this game's awesome. So yeah, I loved dissecting it with you a bit.
Yeah, of course. And part of the fun of like interpretation games like this, like Sam Eng might listen to this and be like, I'm glad you felt that way, but that was not what I intended. And like that's the beauty
Yeah.
of interpretation. And listeners probably came out of this with some different ideas than we did, and that's awesome. So it's fun to compare and talk about the ways we experience them. And if anyone does want to jump in to the Discord server and let us know, like, this is how I interpreted the events of Skate Story and the themes and stuff like that, I think that'd be super fun. So until then, just Josh, one more time, thank you for doing this. Thanks for giving me 2 hours and good conversation.
Oh yeah, I could do 2 more hours. It was so much fun.
Don't
Thanks.
tempt me. And so yeah, thank you. I'll put links down in the show notes for everyone listening to go check out IndieQuest and the other show. Try and find it again. The Monthly Mishap. A lot of podcasting has left the brain a little bit empty. Monthly Mishap and IndieQuest. Links will be in the show notes. Please go check those out. And everyone who's still here at the end, as always, you're my hero. And tune in next week for the next game to come out of the backlog.
You ever notice how some games don't need 100 hours to leave a mark?
Absolutely. I'm Michael.
And I'm Marcus. We're the host of Tiny Game Chronicles, a podcast that celebrates games that are small in scope, but huge in heart.
Every other week, we dive into games that you can finish in a few hours, but think about for days after.
We've been exploring these hidden gems, and every time it feels like uncovering something extraordinary.
So whether you're short on time or just love discovering new worlds, join us.
Listen to Tiny Game Chronicles on your favorite podcast app, or catch us on YouTube.
Tiny Game Chronicles, where every other week we discuss games that are quick plays,
but epic journeys.
Do you have a gaming subscription service like Xbox Game Pass or a crazy backlog and don't know what to play next? Well, 1H1D might be for you. Join me, Chris, and my college buddy Tom as we play a random game or a requested game for an hour and decide if it's worth playing past that hour. We go over the good, the bad, and maybe some little tidbits about the development you might not have known. Got 30 minutes? Give us a try, and if you like it, throw us a 5-star review. Try something new. You never know what might be your next favorite game.